here is the question, and we have a numerator here and a denominator here. If they are with different, let's say, polynomial orders, you see the polynomial order is -1 here, but it is -2 over here. So that's why I need to multiply both sides by z square, right? Do you remember this concept, arkadaşlar? We will multiply both sides by z square. And then come up with something without z to the power -1s, right? That was our purpose. We are trying to convert z to the power -1s into z to the power +1 or +2, okay? So what do we have finally? Z times z plus 1, right? Divided by z minus 1 over 2 times z plus 1 over 4. Can everybody understand what I'm doing here, arkadaşlar? I want you to ask at any time, any point that you don't understand, okay? These are not very difficult steps. I have used 1z from here and kept 1z over here. Multiply 1z with this one. So 1 plus z to the power -1 will give me z times z plus 1. Everybody is with me, right? Arkadaşlar, what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to draw the ROC curve and indicate poles and zeros. Can everybody tell me what zeros for this h of z's are? H of z is?
0 and -1.
0 and?
-1.
-1. How about poles? 1 over 2 and?
-1 over 4.
-1 over 4. How do I find it? I equate this to 0. I equate this to 0. I equate this to 0. I equate this to 0. I find zeros here and poles here. I think that part is pretty obvious on your side. Now I'm trying to come up with the graph that I need to plot, which is the ROC plot. Okay, this is a z-plane. I have imaginary part and real part. And I start indicating the poles and zeros. This is my 0. This is my -1, 0 at -1. And then I have 1 over 2 as the pole, and 1 -1 over 4 as the pole. We indicate 0 by circle. We indicate poles by cross. Okay? Then I do this circle regarding one of the poles, and I have another circle regarding the other pole. So how do I shade? How do I do the shading on this ROC curve? Where is the trick in this question?
System is stable.
The system is stable. What does stable system mean? What should we take into account?
Unit circle should be included.
A unit circle, which is
unit
here,
circle.
Unit circle should be included. This red circle should be included in my shaded area, right? How do I do the shading so that I will have finally the unit circle included in the ROC plot? Ahmet, Furkan? No? İkbal?
Hocam, they should
both left-sided. Sorry,
Left-
right-sided.
Right-sided, right? Right-sided.
Yes.
Thank you, Iqbal. So they both should be right-sided so that I will shade this area like that. I will shade this area like that. And then finally, the final shading will be like this. What does final shading represent?
Yeah, also.
Z will be greater than 1 over 2, which is the orange or yellowish area, right? Z greater than 1 over 2, because I'm shading the area outside of 1 over 4 and 1 over 2. The intersection is the area that is greater than 1 over 2. Is that part clear, arkadaşlar? Is this ROC plot thing clear on your minds? Any issues that you have while understanding this concept? No? Evet, let's move on to the second part. So now I have done the poles and zeros and h of z ROC curve. Now what is being asked? I would like to find out h of n. Can you tell me? Now I'm going to give you 2 minutes to solve this on your own and tell me h of n through chat, please. You will start working on here. Do you know how to go from here, arkadaşlar?
Inverse Z transform.
Anya, would you say it again?
An inverse Z transform.
Inverse Z transform. How do we do it?
Other problem. Maybe we take the partial fraction.
Yes, right. Partial fraction expansion.
Mm.
How do I write it? A divided by 1 minus 1 over 2 z to the power minus 1 plus b 1 plus 1 over 4 z to the power minus 1. I want you to write to the chat what are a and b here. I want answers from all of you guys. Muhammed Zübeyir, Ahmet Güney, Ahmet Özsan, Mustafa Turan, Yasir Işıkhan, Ahmet Abdurrahim, İkranur, Furkan, Ahmet Faruk, Alper, Firdevs, Doğan, Yaşar, Emre, Anye, Nurefşan. Muhammed Zübeyir, thank you very much. Alper, thank you very much. Ahmet, think about this once more, please. In that part of the solution, okay? So we found A is equal to 2, B is equal to minus 1. So finally, I have h of z being equal to 2 over this, 2 over 1 minus 1 over 2 z to the power minus 1, minus 1 over 1 plus 1 over 4 z to the power minus 1. Is this part correct, arkadaşlar? I put A here and this part as it is, and B here and this part as it is. So how do I perform the inversely transform here and write h of n?
First one is right-sided and the second one is left-sided.
Is this one right-sided? If this is right-sided, what is the sequence here?
2 times 1 over 2 to the power n un.
1 over 2 to the power n un. How about this part? Süleyman, you said this is left-sided, but if you remember, we said that both are right-sided because
Oh, sorry.
for this to be
Yes.
stable, both sides, both parts should be right-sided, right? Right-sided sequences.
Then we can directly apply the same rule.
Yes. Then I will write minus 1 over 4 to the power n un. Why did I write minus 1 over 4 to the power n? Because I take this, like this part is minus, and I take this one as my A. Here, if this is plus, then I take negative of this and write over here.
Hocam, at this point, may I ask something?
Sure.
When we are plotting ROC,
Uh-huh.
we directly said that both are the right-sided.
Yes.
What if we say the inner part is the left-sided? Again, it is stable, right?
Then there would be no overlap, right, Süleyman? So what you're saying is I have this one and I have this one right-sided and this one as left-sided. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, hocam.
Then there would be no overlap.
Do we
this
need
case.
overlap every single time?
Yes, we are determining one ROC which will be correct for both, let's say both things.
Okay, hocam, I understand.
You see, arkadaşlar, because I'm saying this is a stable, let's say, this is a stable thing, stable system. That's why we have come up with the addition and saying that both sides are positive. But if the question is given like this, if it is as Süleyman said, if it is given like this, then you would say one of the ROC, one of the signal is right-sided, the other one is left-sided. So if either it is said like that, Süleyman, like one of them is right-sided, the other one is left-sided, it should be stated, or the ROC should be given to us, and then that's why we make conclusions about our sequences.
Oh, okay, hocam, thanks.
Okay, so in this case, we were after the overlap because the system was stable, stated as stable. Okay, but if it is not stated like that, if it is not stated as it's a stable function, then you would say, and if it is given like this, then you would say, okay, one of them is left-sided, the other one is right-sided. Okay, it's also possible in such a case. But usually we are given like the system is causal, the system is stable, kind of restrictions about our ROC plot. Anlıyor muyuz arkadaşlar? There are different options here, both left-sided, both right-sided, one of them right-sided, one of them left-sided kind of situation. It is possible to have like this, but usually our decision is coming from the restrictions that is given in the question, like stable or causal or something like that. Is that clear arkadaşlar? So we have found h of n like this. Let me try to increase Let me try to increase the this. Okay, what is the next question? For a given y of n, I want you to find out x of n. Okay, let me write y of n being here. Let me carry this down. Okay, now I want you to work on this. I want you to use y of n, the output. We know h of n. We know y of n. I want you to find x of n here. Okay? What is y of z arkadaşlar here? Ahmet Özsan, what is y of z?
One. Okay, Ahmet olsun.
Sorry hocam. I forget to open my mic. 4 over 4, 4 over 3 over 1 minus 1 over 2 to the power of z minus 1.
Okay, thank you very much. So how do you continue, Furkan, when you know y of z and h of z?
Hocam y of z over x of z equals h of z.
Yes, then
We can find our x of
then
z.
I would say x of z is equal to y of z divided by h of z, right? And then y of z is equal to 4 over 3, 1 over 2, sorry, 1 over 1 minus 1 over 2 z to the power minus 1 divided by 1 plus z divided by 1 minus 1 over 2 z to the power minus 1, 1 plus 1 over 4 z to the power minus 1. So what is x of z in this case arkadaşlar?
For over 3 times
4
1
over
plus
3 times
1 plus 1 over 4
1
z
plus
to
1 over
minus
4 z to the power
over
minus 1 divided by
1 plus z to the minus 1.
1 plus z to the power minus 1. Evet, şimdi here I want you to stay with me. At this point, what should I do? If I have something to the power z minus 1 in the numerator and denominator, what should I do arkadaşlar? Now, the easier form is like the 4 over 3 plus 1 over 3 z to the power minus 1 divided by 1 plus z to the power minus 1.
Multiplication by z.
Multiplication by z. If you
Arrows.
if you start doing that, I don't want you to find the ROC. I want you to find out x of n arkadaşlar.
Partial fraction.
We
Evet.
can separate the equation.
How do you do that, Furkan?
4 over 3 over 1 plus z to the power minus 1.
Plus
Plus 1 over 3. Yes.
okay, very nice. Then what would you do next? Ahmet Abdurrahim, what would you do next? How do you find the inverse Z transform of this one?
Multiply by z hocam.
I'm trying to find out x of n right now. Multiplying by z wouldn't help me, right? I want you to find everything in n right now, in time domain, not in frequency domain, but in time domain. What was the Fourier z transform of 1 over 1 minus a z to the power minus 1? What was the inverse z transform? If my
a n u n.
a to the power n, u to the power n, if this is a right-sided sequence, right? If it is given like that,
Yes, hocam.
right-sided. So if you see this one, how do you come up with with something like that?
4 over 3
4 over 3.
un.
What's that? Can you say it again?
4 over 3 minus 1 un.
Minus 1 to the power n un, right?
Yes.
Minus 1. What is your assumption here? Your assumption is that this is a right-sided sequence, right?
Mhm.
This is a right-sided sequence. How about the next one?
1 over 3
1 over 3
minus 1 minus 1 n un.
and un.
Yeah.
Is this part, what happened to this one?
Un minus 1, I think.
Un minus 1, like this, right? This minus 1 says shift one sample. Okay? If you remember our property, the Z transform of x n minus n0 is this one, right? So if you see this, like 1 over 3, 1 minus 1 plus z to the power minus 1 times z to the power minus 1, you first take the inverse Z transform of this part, which is 1 over 3 times minus 1 over n un. Then you should take this into account because now it is x of n. Now you should delay it for one sample, okay? That's why I put minus 1 here and minus 1 here. Is this part clear arkadaşlar? When you see minus z to the power minus z here. If you see z to the
Hocam,
power minus, yes, Revşan.
Sometimes we only put this minus 1 in u function. We didn't put as a power. I'm confused about this.
Nurefcan, we should always see, bak, this thing means z to the power minus 1 means put n minus 1 instead of all n's. Okay, this is what it means. So you see, normally what was my function? Minus 1, 1 over 3 minus 1, and un, right? So this is a function of n. So what I do is how do I plot this function? At 0, it is 1 over 3. At 1, it is minus 1 over 3, right? Doğru mu söylüyorum arkadaşlar? 1, yes. At 2, it is plus 1 over 3. At 3, it is minus 1 over 3. And so on, right? This is my function. This is my sequence. If z to the power minus 1, I see it, that means shift one sample to the right. So what should I do? I will shift this thing totally one sample to the right. That means it will be same sequence, but now starting from 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now it should be like 1 over 3, minus 1 over 3, 1 over 3, minus 1 over 3. For this to be like this, it should be 1 over 3, minus 1, and minus 1, u, and minus 1. Okay? Shifting the whole sequence 1 to the right. Okay? The whole sequence 1 to the right. Whole sequence shifting to the right means every n's in my function should be interchanged with or changed with n minus 1. Is this part clear arkadaşlar?
Yes, hocam.
Yes. Okay. So
Yeah.
Anya, you have a question?
How do you know the not this one, the back to xn?
This one?
Yes. How do you know the first term is to the right?
I just assumed it, Anya.
Okay.
There is no indication like that. It should be in the question. It should be told. It should be told like that, like this. It isn't clear here. I just added it. It should be like, for the given y of n, find the z transform of x of z and its ROC, and find x of n if it is, let's say, a causal signal. The question should be like that. Now, in its
we
current
know-
form, it doesn't give me any clue whether it's going to be right-sided or left-sided. Okay? It should be told like that.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Revşan?
Hocam, but we know the system is stable. Can't we think like that y of n
No.
and x of n?
The stability of the system is a property of the system. The system doesn't care whether the signal is the input or the output is something like stable, causal, right side, left side. It doesn't care about that. Okay, we think about the system
Okay.
separately from the input and output. Okay, if the system is stable, we don't have to assume that the input is stable or the output is stable. Okay, it should be indicated in the question. If it is not, you can take anything by assuming it. I assume that the input is stable, the input is causal. Evet, arkadaşlar, I hope that's all for the first question. I would like to write one part of this question and then give a break at this point. Okay, do you remember this thing before? Like, we have solved this kind of a system before. for Fourier transform. Do you remember how I write the difference equation for this system arkadaşlar?
Yes hocam. X of n minus 1 plus
X
b
of
times y n minus 1
plus b times y n minus 1 is equal to
y of n.
y of n. Alper Tosun, why is this like that? Why is this system difference equation like this?
Let me explain.
Why do we say xn minus 1, for example? Why?
In the figure hocam, it's multiply output by b and add to the input again.
Okay, like y of n times b is going to be b times y of n here. X of n is the input to the adder. What is the output of this one? The addition of this and this, right?
Yes
How
hocam.
about this s? What does this s mean?
Shift by one.
Shift by one sample. Thank you very much. Shift by one sample. Okay. Or delay 1 unit. Okay, these are all the same things. Shift by one sample to the right. To the right. Or delay 1 unit. Okay, delay 1 sample. Everybody is with me, right? So x of n, this is saying delay 1 unit, x of n minus 1. B, y of n, delay 1 unit. B is a coefficient, so I don't do anything with b, but the function or sequence or signal will be shifted by 1 sample to the right. And totally, this thing, this whole thing will be equal to our output signal. Is this clear arkadaşlar? Anything you have difficulty with understanding? Can anybody like Abdullah Doğan, can you tell me what h of z is? H of z. How do you find h of z? What is h of z? Y of z divided by x of z, right?
Yeah, I
How
know.
do you find y of z divided by x of z?
I don't remember hocam.
Bakın arkadaşlar, if you see this, what is the z transform of x of n minus 1?
X of z times z to the minus
X
1.
of z times z to the power minus 1. This is what I have done in 2 minutes, like 2 minutes before, right? Same thing, like y n minus 1. What is the z transform of this? Same thing, right? If I multiply by b, I will multiply by b. This is linearity property, linear time invariant system, linear time invariant sequence, okay? So I'm gonna write using these, I'm gonna write this again in z domain, okay? So I would say x of z times z to the power minus 1 plus b y of z, z to the power minus 1 is equal to y of z. Is this part clear arkadaşlar? I have to convert time domain difference equation into z domain in order to obtain transfer function, h of z. Okay? How do I go further? I will take this one here. Y is in one side, x in one side, okay? On one side, y. So if I have x of z times z to the power minus 1 is equal to y of z 1 minus b z to the power minus 1. How did I write this, Firdevs? How did I write the right side?
Hocam, we just take the
We just take this one to the
Yeah.
right. And like it
Then-
becomes minus b y z z to the power minus 1, right? Then take the parentheses of y of z. Is that part clear arkadaşlar? So this is gone. I'm left with this part. What is h of z then, Anye?
Z to the minus 1 over 1 minus b, z to
1
the
minus
minus
b z to the power minus 1. Can you tell me what h of n is?
h of n b.
Let me ask this to another friend. Yaşar? Can you
B-
tell me what the h of n is?
Yes hocam. B power n times un minus 1.
un minus 1. Should I put minus 1 here?
Shift it.
Yes hocam.
So b to the power n minus 1 times un minus 1, right? Yes?
Exactly hocam.
So why is it right-sided? Because the system is causal. So Yaşar, this thing might have been a left-sided sequence and you wouldn't be able to write it this way. So for this to become this, you have to check what is given in the question about h of n. Anlaşıldı mı gençler burası?
Hocam,
Yes.
you said about the former question I asked. Let's say if the question said xn is causal, what does it mean?
Causal means to the right. Okay, to the right. The sequence should be like, what was the definition of causality? What was the definition of causality?
Poles must be
In terms of-
inside
not in
of the
terms
unit
of-
circle, I guess.
Poles should be inside the unit circle. Okay, this is one thing about causality. If you remember, what did we say about h of n if a system is causal or not? H of n is given, and I'm asking you that is the system causal? How do you check this question? How do you find out the answer?
H of n is 0 for n less than 0.
H of n should be 0 for n less than 0. That means I shouldn't have anything here. So this will cause this system to be non-causal, right? If I have anything before 0, like anything other than 0, then I will say this is a non-causal system. So it should be
Yeah.
right-sided. Poles should be inside the circle. Okay? The thing is, our signal should be right-sided. When I see this causality term, I should
Right-sided.
immediately say that this is a right-sided sequence. Okay?
Hocam, thank you.
For example, if this were left-sided, Anya, if this were like b to the power n u minus n, let's say, is this this is a left-sided sequence, and h of n is given like this, let's say. Is this a causal system or not?
It is not a causal system.
It is not a causal system because we have things like this one, right?
No.
So this is like 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. So I have terms before 0, and h of n is not equal to 0 for n less than 0. So that means my system is non-causal. For my system to be causal, it should be right-sided, and it should be 0 before n equals 0. Okay? Anlıyor muyuz arkadaşlar burayı? Okay?
Hocam,
Yes?
if the system is left-sided, the b to the n term, will it be b to the n or b to the minus n?
If you remember, what was the thing here? A to the minus a to the power n u n minus 1 would be equal to 1 over 1 minus a z to the power minus 1 for z being less than a. Do you remember this left-sided sequence z transform? This was the left-sided sequence z transform. So when you check this part without the z minus 1, what do you say? What is the what is the inverse z transform of this h of z then, if it is left-sided? If this is a left-sided sequence,
Minus
h of
b to
n?
the power n.
Minus b to the power n u,
And u minus n.
minus n minus 1. So if I add z to the power minus 1 here, how will my function change?
b n minus 1, u minus n.
Instead of n here, I will add n minus 1. So it will be minus n minus 1, minus 1. So it will be minus n plus 1, minus 1. Plus and minus will go away. And then I will have u minus n. Burası anlaşıldı mı arkadaşlar? What was Firdevs's question? If it is given that my system is non-causal, that means left-sided. So, and I have found this as my h of z. How should I find h of n? I will go and check this one. This is a left-sided sequence. You can find it from the table, Z transform table. And then you should be able to go from this table information and then think about what's going on. First, I didn't take this into account, z to the power minus 1. I said 1 over 1 minus b z to the power minus n. So this is something close to that one. So I wrote, instead of a, I wrote b. And instead of n, I wrote minus b to the power n u minus n minus 1. Then, if there is a z to the power minus 1 term in my transfer function, then I say instead of n, I will put n minus 1. Before it was minus b n u minus n minus 1. Now I'm going to write here n equals n minus 1. So it becomes b n minus 1. U, instead of this n, I'm going to write n minus 1. I'm going to write minus n minus 1 minus 1. Anlaşıldı mı arkadaşlar burası? Minus n plus 1 minus 1. Minus n plus minus n plus 1 minus 1. Then this plus minus will go away. And I will be left with minus u minus n. If h of n is left-sided, or if the system is non-causal. If these are mentioned in the question, the system is non-causal, then you should be thinking that, oh, this is a left-sided sequence. Or h of n is given as left-sided sequence, then you should say, oh, this is a left-sided sequence, and I should use the appropriate things here. Anlaşıldı mı arkadaşlar burası? Exactly, Emre asked a good question. For example, for this thing to be, what did we find arkadaşlar here? This one was my h of n. In our question, we found h of n being equal to b n minus 1 u n minus 1, right? That was our h of n for the causal case. But as Emre asked, why don't we check the poles exactly? What should be b for this being arkadaşlar, for causality, actually, there was a mistake in our saying. For stability, there are two things I check. One, it should include unit circle, and all poles should be inside the unit circle. Okay, for causality, what is our rule for causality arkadaşlar? The sequence should be right-sided. Okay, like the system is right-sided. There is no term about poles here. Okay, there is nothing about poles here. So I mentioned this in a wrong way. It is about stability. If a system is stable, it should include unit circle, and all poles should be inside the unit circle. Okay, poles should be inside the unit circle. And it should be like that. Or if we have something like this, for example, arkadaşlar, and this is my one unit circle here, then I should have something in between, right? Let's say this is one, minus 1 over 2, poles are like that, then my z should be like this, for this to be stable. Okay, but is this, when I look at this ROC plot, can I say that this is a causal system? No, because I have a sequence which is left-sided. I have another sequence which is right-sided. Bakın burası anlaşıldı mı arkadaşlar? Let me draw once more. I have a plot. I have a pole here at 2. I have another pole at 1 over 2, let's say. And it is given that the system is stable. For this system to be stable, it should include the unit circle. For that, my ROC curve should be here. Okay? So this part, this pole, the part of the signal which is about this pole should be left-sided, and this one should be right-sided. So if I have anything like left-sided, then the system will not be causal. Why? Because if this is left-sided, then I will say 2 to the power n u minus n minus 1. And this is right-sided, 1 over 2 to the power n un. Right? Is this a causal system? No, right? This will break the rule, like h of n will not be equal to 0 for n less than 0 for this part. Anlaşıldı mı arkadaşlar?
Hocam,
yes.
For the second requirement for being stable, yeah, all poles should be inside the unit circle, but the 2 is outside of the unit circle.
Exactly, yes.
We said that.
I'm missing something here arkadaşlar. Let us check that all poles should be inside the unit circle.
That is maybe that is a condition for causality, because
Yes, hocam.
for causality, if the region of convergence is outside of the outermost pole, then the system is causal. I think that is the relationship with poles and causality.
So if I have something like that, for example, one of them is 1 over 2, the other one is 1 over 3, and if I have this function, and if I have all the poles inside the unit circle, and if one of them is, yanlış çizdim, if one of them is left-sided, is this system causal? No, right? So I think, let me say again, it should include the unit circle for stability. For causality, all poles should be inside and they all should be arkadaşlar, let's have a break and I will check on that. I will give you the exact correct information, okay? So as far as I remember, there was something related to poles,
Yeah.
but I don't remember exactly right now. Let's check and then let's have a 5-minute break. Come back in 5 minutes and then I will tell you the exact right story about causality and stability. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Arkadaşlar, see you in 5 minutes inşallah.